Hey, fuckers, how you doing tonight?
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. But hey, welcome. Welcome to this, what we call the Bunny Rabbit's Hole. Here at the Bunny Rabbit's Hole, what we do is each and every week, myself, I am Jason, with my co-host.
I am Craig.
Yes. What Craig and I do is we pick one theme. Most of the time, he picks a theme, and then we both research it. But with this theme, we talk about it until something inspires us to talk about something completely different. And then we talk about that for a little bit until finally we reach an end at that point, or finally Craig decides we need to get back on task. We go back on task, and now we continue on.
Right. And as Jason said, we pick that central theme, spend the week researching it, sometimes less of the week, sometimes more. But we research both sides for and against, not just what fits our narrative, but we also include our opinions. So as if you're easily offended, I'm sure my intro probably triggered that, so you should probably go somewhere else.
So, bye, fuckers.
Right.
So how are we doing?
I'm frustrated as hell.
Oh, okay, Craig. Why are we frustrated?
Okay, so as you know, which our audience doesn't, I went back to school to finish up my bachelor's degree in illustration concept. I started on Monday. I have a humanities class. In my humanities class, I had to read parts of Genesis.
Okay, like the Bible.
Yeah.
The first book of the Bible.
Yeah, the contradictory bullshit.
Yes.
So I'm reading this, and you got Adam and Eve and all the bullshit with the apple and blah, blah, blah. That was all stupid to me. Because basically Adam threw fucking Eve under the bus, buried her under the bus 20 feet.
Well, absolutely. And that's the beginning of, putting women down.
Right. And so then they have Cain and Abel. So now there's 4 people on this goddamn planet. Only 4.
Yes.
So Cain kills Abel. Now we're down to 3.
Yes.
God curses him to be immortal and live forever and wander aimlessly. And he's freaking out. He's like, what if I run across other people? There's 3 fucking people on the planet. Who the fuck are you going to run across?
Right.
So, yeah, that's my frustration. But it was cool because you got to compare the Gilgamesh flood story to the Genesis flood story, and they're very similar, and Gilgamesh was written first.
Yeah, like 2,000 years before.
Yeah.
So it's like looking at Leonardo DiCaprio's Romeo and Juliet with Claire Danes and going, man, whoever wrote that's really smart. And then you go back,
Right.
You read, Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet and went, huh, they're similar.
Right. Yeah. So anyways, okay, we can go on. Sorry, I had to get that out.
All right. So, and that Bible hypocrisies and hypocrisies and fairy tales is an episode we'll do by itself later. Promise. We promise you.
Right.
But tonight, we're going to talk about something that's fun for both of us. I've always found this to be fun, to look at imagery and see different hidden things in there. And yes, today we're going to talk about the hidden symbolism in everything.
Right. Or otherwise known as Illuminati and Freemason.
Which most of is, yes. Most of it.
Okay, before we go too far into this, I've developed a theory. And it was funny because I was talking to one of the kids that live with us, and he was pretty much telling me my theory before I even got to tell him what it was. Because he had the same type of theory.
Nice.
Because a lot of Freemasons and Illuminati, their symbolism is taken from Egyptian mythology.
A lot of which, yes.
So, and we have talked in previous episodes how we believe the pyramids were built by aliens with all the technology.
Yes.
And which Aliens was released today, folks. Go check it out. But it was, but with the aliens and all that stuff, it kind of like, there's a line that they're trying to be those Egyptian aliens, the Freemasons and stuff like that. And like the kid that lives with us said, he believes that the Romans had advanced technology, but as they started their decline, they saw their decline, so they eradicated it, so that way when they were taken over, nobody could steal it.
that's actually that's actually not a bad theory at all, because look at how many different corporations would do the same thing. They get bought out. This company gets bought out by this one, but their R&D department, does a clean sweep of all their stuff so that they can take this technology and this research that they did into their own sector later on.
Right.
Because nobody knows they have it in the first place, because that's what research and development is all about, is secrecy and advancement. And you can't advance and do research on stuff with everybody knowing that's what you're doing.
Right. But yeah, Illuminati and Freemasons, that's like 17 other episodes that are going to come out at some point, which we haven't yet recorded.
Absolutely. I mean, there's episodes on the Bilderberg, there's episodes on the Rothschilds, there's episodes on, Bohemian Grove, but we're going to touch lightly on a lot of those topics today, because a lot of the symbolism that we'll see in stuff, you've already mentioned the Masons, they use in all these other groups. Right. And you'll see a lot of reoccurring themes. But I thought, to start this off before we go really deep into it, is do kind of the lighthearted ones that we see every day that you don't really notice until somebody points it out to you.
Right.
Like just regular corporate logos.
Right.
And then I want to do a transition between corporate logos to the other thing. So, but first, it's fun because you see things like the Amazon logo. It's Amazon, and then they have an arrow that points from the letter A to the letter Z, because they have everything from A to Z.
Right.
It's fun.
Yes.
The FedEx logo. Oh, go ahead.
You have the McDonald's logo, which when it was created back in the 60s, the creator and a psychologist at the time fashioned it. Yes, it's a big yellow M, but it's actually fashioned to be a pair of nourishing breasts, because
Louis Cheskin.
Yeah.
Louis Cheskin was the guy that did it, which is kind of ironic that his name is Cheskin and he's boobs. But there's like, if you go and look at the French Tour de France logo, it looks like a cyclist riding a bike in the word tour. There's the Hershey's Kiss logo, where if you look between the K and the I, it makes the shape of a Hershey's Kiss.
Right.
The little chocolate thing, if you don't know what I'm talking about.
Did you know that in the Coca-Cola, the new Coca-Cola emblem, the most recent one, it has the flag of Denmark in it?
I just read that today for the first time. I'd never noticed that or anything in it. So I thought that's pretty cool. And the people of Denmark really love that, apparently.
Right. Well, and they're considered the happiest country in the world. So Coca-Cola obviously ran with that.
Yeah. Then you got other fun ones like the B and the R in Baskin Robbins, which is Baskin Robbins 31 flavors. The inside of the B and the outside of the R, or vice versa, spells out 31. And there's a lot of other,
like Hope for Africa Children Initiative. I really like this one.
Oh yeah.
It's the map of Africa, but on the right-hand side, there's a woman's face looking down at the bottom left-hand side with the child's face looking up at her.
Mm-hmm. And there's a bunch of really cool ones like that, especially when you start coming to like zoos. I think zoos do the best job of that. The Pittsburgh Zoo, Pittsburgh Zoo, the Bronx Zoo, and then there's a couple others where they'll take a shape. I think it's the Pittsburgh Zoo. It's got the tree that looks like, if you look at it, it looks like a tree, but if you look closely, it's a gorilla face facing a lion face, and there's birds coming out of the roots. It's just fabulous. And then the Bronx Zoo is a couple of giraffes, but their legs are the shapes of buildings, which is the skyline of Brooklyn.
Right. Yeah, and another neat one, Yoga Australia. There's a lady in a yoga position with her arm out, stretched out forward. She's standing on one leg. Her back leg is up behind her, and her right arm is reaching back, holding her left foot. Negative space in between that is a map of Australia.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't see that one. Another one that I really liked, that's really simple, is the brand LG, which makes phones and tablets. Now, they were very, very simple in their logo. and it looks like a big G with an L in the middle of it. But if you turn their whole logo sideways and you move that L back over, it's Pac-Man.
Yeah, yeah. Another neat one is the Big Ten Conference.
Oh,
Because, you know, up until 1990, there was 10 schools in it. In 1990, they included Pennsylvania State, and instead of changing the logo to Big 11 or whatever, and the T between the G and the E, there's negative space that forms an 11.
Yeah.
So it still says Big Ten, but it's got an 11 in it as well.
Exactly. Now, a lot of what these are, and we're going to transition into what, why some logos work, why they use some of these logos, why the symbology is attached to what they do. There is ritualized magic. In some cases we'll use chaos magic, because that's the one I'm most familiar with. There's a little spell that you can do, which is called firing off a sigil. And a sigil is you create a phrase that you want to put out there to the world. Say you want something. Say I want $100 by Friday. So you'd write $100 by Friday. You strip out all the vowels and all the double letters, and then you take the letters that you have left, and then you put them together and create a symbol. Then you charge the symbol by concentrating on it, and then you fire it off with either sexual magic, meaning masturbation, or however you do this. Now, the reason that I'm doing the sigil first, because there are certain symbols that everybody knows, like Sony Ericsson, which they make phones and all the kind of little consumer electronic things. Their symbol, it looks like a marble, I guess is the best way to put it. But what they've done is they took the S and the E and they created a symbol out of this, and that's their logo. Now Toyota did the same thing. If you look at the kind of like the oval that's got, like, it almost looks like a T, I guess, but they took all the letters of Toyota and created a symbol out of it, and then they energized it and they put that out there as their symbol. Now everybody knows that is right. That creates lots of power.
Well, here's another one that goes along that same lines, but it's more Celtic, would be like Mercedes-Benz. Because their symbol, it's like a redacted version of the triquetra, which was an ancient symbol used by Druids and Celtics. And looking on that symbol, when you look at that symbol, it stimulates the human psyche and awakening spiritual powers. But because most people know the Mercedes-Benz, it's a circle and it's got a line coming down, almost looks like a peace symbol.
It's a peace symbol without the little N in the bottom. Right.
Well, if you look up a triquetra, it's shaped like that, but only there's negative space in the middle. So it's like it's an oblong oval stretched out on all three sides.
Yes.
With a circle going through it.
Exactly. And so along those same lines, we look at, you brought them up, but another car company, Mitsubishi,
yep,
is basically that symbol as their actual company name translates to three stars or something.
It was 3 diamonds.
3 diamonds. Yeah, which is what the symbol is.
Right.
And when we start to go into this, you'll really understand what we're talking about, because the number 3 and 13 come into play a lot.
Right. Well, they're prime numbers, and prime numbers are really big in the occult. They're really big in Freemasons and with the Illuminati and with like the Druid circles and pagans and stuff like that. Everybody loves prime numbers.
Yes.
And then, of course, the logo, the whole monster logo, everybody thinks that's 666.
Because each individual claw mark kind of looks like the Hebrew symbol for the number 6.
Right.
Now,
But they said the same thing about like the Walt Disney logo.
if you look at Walt Disney's signature, you can take the first part of the W in Walt. It's the I, the dot on the I, and then the Y, part of the Y, and they do kind of look like 666.
It's a bit of a stretch to me.
That one I thought was a little bit of a stretch. There's a lot of other symbolism within Disney stuff, and there's just straight up racism in some Disney stuff that's been redacted. But I do think I'm with you on that one. I think that one was a little bit of a stretch.
Now, I would, if I was going to look at that, I would look at like the Google symbol, you know, for the Google Chrome.
Mm-hmm.
Does that look? I mean, you can actually see it better in that, where it's supposed to be 666 in that as well.
Right, and ironically, Google's internal what's the word I'm looking for? Not logo, but tagline is "Don't be evil."
Oh. Oh, I think I read that and forgot about it.
Yeah,
But I mean, so many companies. I mean, it's for a lot of companies, it's just fun. You know, it's nothing major or anything like that. But I mean, like, there's some that are a bit of a stretch. Like Coca-Cola, upside down are words in Arabic that are supposed to say no Muhammad, no Mecca.
Mm.
I don't see it, but then again, I can't really read Arabic language. But I mean, they have like a sample of it, and it doesn't look like the Coca-Cola at all.
Yeah. So to me, my personal thought on that is right up there with playing a record backwards.
Yeah.
If anything sounds like it, it's just coincidence.
Right.
And like the best of, go back and listen to the transcripts of when Rob Halford was on stage after a couple of kids ended up shooting themselves. One ended up dying, the other one blew his face apart, and they sued the band Judas Priest over this. So
Right.
they were supposedly, there was subliminal messages within the record that told them to do it. Just do it.
Right. You're supposed to play it backwards, and it's supposed to say the Lord is headless or some shit like that.
Yeah. So Rob Halford actually, as in his testimony, goes through and talks about everything that he thinks he heard listening to the entire album backwards. And he's like, at this point I hear, "Hey Ma, the chair is broken." So they play that bit and it sounds like it says, "Hey Ma, the chair is broken."
I mean,
Just
when I
prove
played
that anything that did say was pure coincidence. Now I've only ever heard one backwards message in a record that I swear to God that's exactly what it says, is if you take the 45 to Queen's Another One Bites the Dust and play it backwards, it does sound like it says it's fun to smoke marijuana.
wouldn't surprise me. I don't know. Whenever I played anything backwards, all I heard was.
Yeah, we did it. We took, my mom had the 45 and my friend had a turntable that was belt driven. So we took the belt off and then put the needle at the end of the record instead of the beginning and went backwards with it. And it sounded like fun to smoke marijuana. But we were all listening for that specific phrase. So I'm not saying that we were preconditioned to hear that, but that's what it sounded like to me.
Right. One symbol, there's two symbols, but they're always usually combined, that pop up everywhere in like Nickelodeon. It's been in SpongeBob. It's been in The Simpsons, South Park. It's been in everything. It's on your freaking money. Is all-seeing eye in the pyramid.
Yes.
If you see like a musician or an actor, you know, and they make that pyramid, you know, symbol, that means they're part of, you know, the Illuminati or the Masons or whatever.
Okay, side story on that, because you just did that little triangle thing. Well, the University of Oregon does this thing, and they're like, it's the O, you know, for Oregon. However, right. That is a sign language symbol for vagina.
That's awesome.
So yeah, but you're right. that is the all-seeing eye. Anybody's got a buck, pull it out, look at the back, and you have a pyramid with a triangle at the very top of the pyramid, or the pyramid capstone with the all-seeing eye within it. Now, glad we brought up the dollar, because there's some spooky shit going on in there, just like they said in Days to Confuse, man. You ever look at a dollar?
Right.
Some spooky shit going on in there. But there's so much Masonic and other symbolism within the dollar bill, and it is pretty damn spooky.
Right. Well, I mean, this stuff is. I mean, you look at the symbol for CBS. It is the all-seeing eye.
Yes.
You know, and I mean, like, you can even, like, the Starbucks logo is the Order of Baphomet, which was a big deity that these people worshipped.
So Baphomet is another. It's everybody instantly sees it, and they think Satanism. So Baphomet is a pagan deity that everybody's seen it. It's a goat-headed creature it's a goat-headed humanoid that's sitting in a throne with one arm up, one arm down. Now,
Right.
In reality, Baphomet is the symbol of balance. And
Okay.
there's a lot of you see it in a lot of stuff, but most recently Netflix had a show called The Adventures of Sabrina, or Misadventures of Sabrina, I think it was called, where they had a statue within the episode that looked identical to the Church of Satan's Baphomet statue that they have in their temple.
Okay.
Now, the church ended up suing Netflix over it for the rights or some shit like that. They ended up suing them because it looked too much alike. Now, Baphomet's true meaning is balance. So when it wasn't the Church of Satan, so it's not the Anton LaVey's thing. Maybe it was the Temple of Set. It was another offshoot of one of those other satanic churches, but they sued over this deity that they have in their temple. Well, that's why people always assume that Baphomet is evil, is because churches like this use it as their own, where it's another one of those symbols that have been bastardized and destroyed over the years, like the swastika, which is a Buddhist symbol for harmony.
Right.
And then the Nazis took it over and kind of made it so that you can't use that anymore.
Right.
The top hat white robes that the KKK used were actually priest uniforms for the Spaniards. They took that and they bastardized it. So there's a lot of symbolism that gets messed up and meanings get changed over the years that aren't
right.
used to be.
Well, and like with the symbol of Baphomet, it has the pentagram, but the pentagram is inverted.
Yes.
And when something is inverted, it usually means the opposite.
Yes.
Like when the cross is upside down, it means you're not worshiping the God. Right. But yeah, and like, I mean, you see images of, Baphomet everywhere. I mean, like Disney's Maleficent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maleficent, or whatever you call it.
Maleficent.
Yeah.
No, there's a second one that's coming out now this summer.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, those horns are symbols of Baphomet.
Yes.
The Victoria Police have the logo on their badge.
Yeah, exactly.
And pretty much all the important structures in Washington, D.C. are laid out in the symbol of Baphomet.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that on, because if you don't know, you have to look this up to see it, because you kind of look at a roadmap of Washington, D.C., and you can kind of see it, but when they put the lines on there, it makes more sense.
I'm going to try something for our YouTube watchers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to hit share screen and see if they can see it.
Okay.
Maybe not. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
All right. So for our YouTube viewers that are actually watching and not just listening, here is Washington. You got DuPont Circle at one corner. I can't remember what that is, but you got Mount Vernon Square, the White House. But basically, all the Capitol buildings are at the points of this pentagram.
Yeah, and then off to the side here, there's another couple of roads that come together that make, so they have the pentagram here, and then you have the compass and the square, which is a Masonic symbol on the other side of town, which makes absolutely no sense to build a city with this kind of layout, because let's face it, it doesn't make any sense for driving. You want a pattern for your towns, unless the geography doesn't allow it.
Like Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't remember how many times I got lost in that fucking town.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, because the White House makes up the prime point at the bottom of the inverted pentagram. So, just so you guys are aware. Yeah.
But so there's a lot of symbology that goes into a lot of logos, and one of the people that is probably the best at ever doing it is the gas and oil companies.
Oh God, yes.
Because with them you have the major players here. You have Texaco, you have Shell, Sunoco, Amco, Chevron, Gulf, and Mobil. Every single one of their symbols is based in some kind of symbology. The Texaco obvious one with the star is the pentagram. Shell, there's rituals where you would place shells around your deity.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that comes from. The Sunoco one is the perfect triangle, which is another symbol within it. Amco has got the torch, which is like the internal flame. It's the same symbology that we have in our Statue of Liberty. And,
right. The flame goes back to like the late. It goes back to basically the Olympics and shit with the torch, the always burning torch, and the goddess, and I believe the goddess was Isis. She was a Greek goddess, and all of these people constantly throw up these images of her on everything. I mean, basically, the Statue of Liberty is formed like the Greek god Isis.
Yeah, and I think it's the was it one of the movie companies has that too?
Paramount.
Or
no, not Greek god, Egyptian god.
Yeah. Then Chevron, it's the shield of the coat of arms. It's personal armor meant to block out attacks. The Gulf is the solar halo, which is a symbol that you see on top of Horus and on all the hieroglyphics. And then Mobil has the Pegasus, which our listeners should know about the Pegasus. But it's interesting that every single one of these companies that started years ago. I mean, most of them are well over 100 years old.
Right.
Every single one of these companies was pulling something that had a bigger meaning behind it. I mean, Chevron is technically a way of it's what happens when the waves push up onto the shore and create like a pointed thing. It's not just a symbol that you use for arrows when you're making web designs.
Well, it's actually based off of famous artwork. I gotta find it just a second. Where'd it go? There it is. Perfect diamond, Chevron. I think it's below that. But yeah, because I've seen and referenced that artwork numerous times, and when I saw this doing my research, I was like, oh yeah, I get it. But, finding it. Go ahead, and when I find it, I'll get back with you.
No, so these companies realized that there's a bigger, there's something bigger going on with just a symbol being recognized. Each one of them has a power behind it. It's kind of what I was referring to with the sigil before. In chaos magic, you can create a symbol that becomes the universe's representation of your desire, is essentially what it is. Now, there's a thing in there which is referred to as a universal sigil, where you can take something and instead of you charging it and putting out there in the universe, you put it out there and it gets charged every single time somebody looks at it. Now, corporations actually pay a lot of money to people to research just what I was talking about.
Right.
What? Why would McDonald's want to research magic? Because anything helps. And if they spend $1 million a year researching on whether or not this will actually help, then they're going to, and if it does, then yeah, if it doesn't, then they know more about it in the meantime. There was our government and most governments in the world spend a lot of money researching things that you probably don't understand. I don't understand them. But look at things like The Men That Stare at Goats. It's a funny movie, but it's based on actual tests that we tried in our government. We tried remote viewing. We tried, telekinetic powers. We tried whatever we could. So is it really that far of a stretch for a company to pay people to research how you would react to a symbol or is it stranger for that to happen or for our government to try to use mind powers as a real thing?
Right. And, before you even answer that question, the majority of the people in this country don't trust the government.
Right.
So what's that tell you right there? I did find it, but I was mistaken. Like the chevron is basically formed off a shield.
Mm-hmm.
And it's supposed to be a shield. I was thinking of the Quicksilver logo.
Oh, right. Quicksilver and Roxy.
Yeah, and Quicksilver, the logo is stylized version of the famous wood block print, The Great Wave of Kanagawa.
Yes. And then Quicksilver created an offshoot brand called Roxy, which was an all women's clothing line. And what they did was they took the Quicksilver logo, which is based on that painting, and put two of them together and kind of created a heart on it.
But, we're talking about all these things, and we're not really, we're talking a little bit about the why, but when it really gets down to it, the why behind all of this is, you always hear the saying, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Right.
So people are going, oh, that monster's, they got the devil symbol on there. People are going to go out and buy it just because of that. Just because you said that. They're going to go fucking buy it.
Very true. Very true. And so here's where I want to kind of bring out, so Monster uses the Hebrew symbol for 6, puts 3 of them together, makes it look like claw marks, or is it the number 666, which kind of goes with the name Monster,
right?
All wrapped up in a nice little bow, which they market to younger kids, risk takers. That's the type of people that they go for. There's a lot more symbolism in things that you do every single day that are geared more towards the evil side than they are towards your Christian values.
Right.
And you spend multiple of them each and every day with a dollar bill.
Yep.
So with that, I think it's time to kind of go into a little bit more about symbology within our own government.
Okay.
So the all-seeing eye, we'll start with that one.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the back of the dollar bill. And if we were a strong Christian-based country, which everybody seems to believe, why is there so much symbolism in every aspect of our government that has nothing to do with Christians?
Right.
Why should we put the Bible in our schools when our money that we use to fund the schools is based on pagan and Egyptian mythos.
Right.
So, and the last time I checked, there's not too many Christians in Egypt, nor has there ever been.
No.
No, it's like the people that you claim that killed your God, Jesus, they were slaves in Egypt. And then Moses came and rescued them from those people. Guess what? None of them were Christian.
Right.
So the all-seeing eye, it really kind of addresses strength. It kind of takes strength and the ability to weather the ages. Is kind of what the whole pyramid and the all-seeing eye. Now, the all-seeing eye kind of comes from, and I'm paraphrasing this, I remember hearing this a long time ago. If you look at the top of the Great Pyramid, it's flat because there's like a metal structure that kind of creates a point at the top that they put years ago, but there used to be this huge capstone that was made of solid gold that adorned the top of it. And then the sides of the buildings were actually like smooth limestone. So the building was brilliant white with this gold smaller pyramid at the very top of it. And they said it glowed like it was an eye looking around, like the eye of Sauron looking around, but like a much nicer eye.
Right. Well, yeah, and like these people, like, were the ones that put all that stuff on the dollar bill. I mean, they weren't worshiping the Christian God. They were worshiping like Horus. They were worshiping Ra, the sun god.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Egyptian gods. You know, the eye, the all-seeing eye, is the symbol of Horus.
Yes. Which, now, if you don't know Horus, you know his story because you guys say it's Jesus's birth. It's the exact same story, just like what Craig was mentioning with Gilgamesh and
Genesis.
In Genesis, most of those stories are older than the Bible in that first book, because even in the second book, because the Testament, I guess, Jesus's story is identical to Horus's. Horus was born of a virgin mother. Later, he was seen by 3 wise men. He died, rose again 3 days later, and we've talked about this before. If you want to know more about that, go watch the first chapter of the Zeitgeist movie. They do a brilliant job of explaining how most of those stories weren't based in anything other than movement of the stars. It's all astrological, has nothing to do with actual people that lived. They do a great job there. So I'm going to leave that there. But the Eye of Horus is, so they're kind of looking at a Christian God, but not really, because the story is much older, like you were saying before. But then there's Latin text on all over it. It's Novaris Ordo Sociolorum, which roughly translates to a new order of the ages. Now, everybody knows the new order because George Bush Sr. Said it in a press conference where it's going to be a new world order. Then the band Ministry ran with that, created a great song called New World Order. But so that's where a lot of momentum came for underlying, or maybe even light to underlying groups running the world, not just our country. When Bush, because the Bush family is grounded in conspiracy.
Right.
People talk about how the Clintons, there's so much evil going on with the Clintons. You got to look at the Bush family first. I mean, Prescott Bush made his money by laundering money from Jews out of Germany. So the Nazis used the Union Bank to funnel the money that they stole from the Jews that they put in the concentration camps. He laundered that money through and then put it into legitimate things. So it was all stolen Jewish money that helped build the Bush dynasty.
Right.
Then Senior, he directed the CIA. He was part of covert missions before he was even in the CIA, and Reagan didn't want him as his running mate, but they pretty much the Republican Party says you're not our candidate without Bush here. So for him, with that history, to come out and say New World Order when everybody's already looked at the dollar bill going, there's some spooky shit in there. Why is this stuff on the bill?
Right.
But if you look deeper, there's other little hidden symbols. Like in the top corner, there's actually, some say it's a spider, some say it's an owl, both of which are Illuminati symbols.
Right.
If the owl specifically is worshipped at the Grove, what's the Bohemian Grove?
Yeah, Bohemian Grove. And the owl is it's a representative of wisdom and secrecy because it sees in the dark, so therefore the secrecy. And we've all heard about owls being signs of wisdom.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, to them the owl represents Minerva, an ancient Roman goddess of wisdom. And yeah, they do some weird shit with owls.
Quick thing with the Bohemian Grove. What it is it's you can see video of it. Alex Jones famously snuck into this camp years ago and secretly videotaped part of what they call the cremation of care ritual, which every year the world's elite get together for this retreat in Northern California. I think they went to Northern California because that's where the best weed from the world is grown. That's
right.
That's why they went there. But what they did was they have this 2-story owl structure that they symbolically sacrifice a woman to the owl, and it's called the cremation of care, and that's how they keep their power for the next year. They do this annually. Now they say it's just all in fun, but I mean, come on. How much fun is there dressing up in robes, going out into the middle of fucking nowhere and fake sacrificing a woman?
Right.
I'm using fake loosely.
Yeah. Well, and could you imagine if they invited Trump out to that? He'd never be able to keep his fucking mouth shut.
Exactly.
He'd be like, yeah, I was at the Bohemian Grove and we stormed the airport in 1776.
Right. He would be live tweeting.
Yep. So another symbol that I just found out about today, and I was kind of fascinated about this one, is the monarch butterfly.
Yes.
And I'm just going to read it from this page. Monarch butterfly is used by those within the entertainment industry to symbolize the trauma-based mind control techniques being carried out predominantly on the female celebrity performing puppets we see relentlessly paraded in front of the idolizing masses. Used in this context, the butterfly refers to the now declassified project MK Ultra, which you talked about earlier, sadistic mind control program developed by the CIA comprising a combination of psychology, science, and occult ritual, which we tested extensively on the military as well as civilians. It allows for the creation of mind-controlled military celebrity, even sex slaves with multiple personalities or behaviors that can be triggered at any time by a handler. It is no mere coincidence that we see butterflies and monarch butterflies in particular as a recurring theme permeated in the artificial Illuminati influenced entertainment industry today. And they have like tons of pictures: Britney Spears, Beyonce, Uma Thurman, Lady Gaga, some other people that I recognize, or the most famous one would be Jodie Foster on the cover of Silence of the Lambs with the monarch butterfly, which actually looks more like a moth to me. But
yeah. No, I didn't really. This is one that we obviously saw the same website because I know exactly the one you're talking about. I read that this morning that's kind of weird because you do see a lot of, especially looking through those pictures, it's like I recognize a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of just random pictures online of people with butterflies. It's like, oh,
right.
look at the pretty butterfly. And you don't think about anything but it being, sinister.
Right. I do need to make a correction from earlier. I said that the goddess with the flaming torch was Isis. It wasn't. It was actually, it was based off from the archetypal Babylonian queen Semiramis, or Whore of Babylon.
Okay.
That's who it's based off. I'm sorry, I put that out there wrongly. So.
And that's I don't remember what movie it was, but those where a woman was yelling out at the Statue of Liberty, "You're a whore! You're a whore!" So whore Babylon, that makes sense. I got the joke finally.
Right.
I just thought she was being a bitch, but now I got the joke.
The one that got me was like the devil horns one.
Mm-hmm.
And then seeing pictures of Obama and Bush both doing it.
And the Pope.
Yeah, the Pope.
I saw there was a picture of the Pope doing it too.
Yeah, that one really kind of threw me for a loop. I was like, huh?
So along with that, now the devil horns, which everybody knows, is if you put your thumb out, means I love you. Put your thumb in, and it's either hook'em horns from the University of Texas, or as Ronnie James Dio says in an interview, he's given the title the one who started using the devil horns in metal music.
Right.
He said everybody jumped on it and said, yeah, it's the devil horns. But what he says from his grandmother used to do it as a protection spell to ward off demons.
Right.
So once again, it's symbology being bastardized and changed over time to fit a different narrative.
Right.
And a great example of that, while I'm still talking about metal music, because it is something that's near and dear to my heart, and I know you like it too. So another symbol that's in metal music is studded leather.
Yeah.
Now, Rob Halford, the lead singer from Judas Priest, which I had mentioned earlier during the court thing, he was the one that brought in wearing leather studs and leather vests and belts and the caps and all this other stuff. Well, he started with a leather studded belt and then added a vest. The vest became a jacket. And then it just grew into leather pants. And everybody else in the genre started seeing how Rob Halford, because he's a god, he's a legend in the thing, everybody started, oh, Rob's wearing leather, let's start doing that, you know. And this is pre-hairband stuff, so everybody's starting to jump at it. Everybody started wearing leather. Well, as he's adorning more and more cow product on his body, he's actually getting the look from all the gay clubs that he was going to, because he was a closeted homosexual for many years during the height of Judas Priest in the 70s and 80s. He didn't come out till the mid 90s, I think, is when he came out. But he's getting this look from the gay bars, and all these other people are using it as a symbol of strength and masculinity and to look badass on stage. So once again, it's perception of the symbol actually, you know, changes how it can be viewed over time. But with that, I mean, there's a few others that I liked in that same article that you're talking about, because the other one was the obelisk.
Yeah, you know, the giant Satan penis.
Yes. You know, if you don't know what an obelisk is, the obelisk is basically the Washington Monument, that big, long, straight up thing with a pyramid at the top. And now the Washington Monument is it's 515 feet tall, I do believe. And it's the longest single standing obelisk in America. I think in the world, actually.
Wouldn't surprise me.
But that it was a flagrant symbol of power and unseen authority is what the Illuminati used it for.
Well, it's also a tribute to various incarnations of ancient Sumerian, Mesopotamian, Babylonian, and Egyptian gods such as Baal, Nimrod, and Ra.
Nimrod.
Right.
So that was a shout out to Dan Cummings' podcast. He has the three-legged dog Nimrod that everybody salutes to.
Okay. Yeah, and what kills me is, you know, when you go below that and you get into the compass and square, just like I found this other site. I got it up here, one of these pages. That's not it either. That's not it. Okay. Now, if you go on your phone and go, whether you have an Apple or an Android, and you look at your app store, Your app store, the symbol for it, Apple App Store and Android Product Store, is a Freemason square and compass.
Yes, they are.
Yes,
they are. Now, if you don't know who the Freemasons were, or what they are, you probably just hear that they're the secret cult that runs the world. Now, what Freemasonry started off with was kind of like an offshoot of the Knights Templar. Now, these guys were actual Masons. They built things with stone, cathedrals and stuff like that. Now, how the whole thing starts is they kept how they did stuff to themselves. So you had to be a Freemason to learn how to do the tricks of laying stones properly. What I'm talking about is they mastered the craft of the arch out of stone.
Right.
So they knew how to build them. Nobody else did, and they wouldn't tell anybody unless you're one of them. So throughout the years, this order grew and grew and grew. And because they started letting you know that they kept secrets, it grew to something even bigger.
Right.
And to the point where a lot of our founding fathers were Freemasons, George Washington, for instance.
Yep.
And a lot of our different buildings, like the White House, the Capitol building, they do this it's one of the corners, northwest corner, I think. They put a cornerstone down, and there's a whole ceremony that goes on it with blood and other stuff, but they put a specialized cornerstone down that's full of it's basically a spell, but they put different things inside the stones, so it's like a time capsule, if you will. But the one from the Capitol building is missing, and it has been for years.
Right.
Renovations that happened on it, and the stone came up missing, and nobody knows what happened to it.
Right.
One of the White House is still there. They did a complete and total remodel on the inside of the building in the 40s, and the stone was reset. But the rest of the building, or the rest of the one of the Capitol building, nobody knows what happened to it.
Right. Well, and what's interesting, another interesting thing too, is like for all you people that have Gmail, you go there and that logo of that envelope with the M on it is, you think, oh, it just means it's just mail. It's an envelope. You get it in the mail, blah, blah. It's actually a representative of the Masonic Royal Arch apron. I found that one interesting. But, these people are really secretive, and we talk about them putting spells and stuff like that on it. And because when it really comes down to it, their drive and what their hunger is for power and wealth and basically corruption.
Yeah.
Like all these stories when you see, they talk about like Kanye West, for example, people that they claim sold their soul, they basically sold to the Freemasons to become famous, and when he went up and interrupted Taylor Swift's acceptance, it from a story I read, their theory is because before he did it, these symbols flashed across the screen, and the number 40 was in it. And in Masons, 40 is a symbol of death and rebirth. And so it was her initiation into the Freemasons. It has to be done publicly in order for them to gain the power of it.
Gotcha.
And I don't know, that could be just a bunch of bullshit. I don't know. I would have to do a lot more research on it, but I found it interesting. It piqued my interest. Let's just call it that.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what we do know is the highest order that you can get into the Masons is you can become level 33.
Right.
And that is supposedly George Washington was a 33rd level Mason. And 3 is a very powerful number, not only in Masonry, but in nature, in comedy. There's the rule of 3 in just about everything. Like in comedy, you say something once, it's funny. You bring it back a second time, that's pretty damn cool. You bring it back a third time, it's hilarious. You say it 4 times, that's too much.
Right. And you got the Holy Trinity, and
Yeah. And
also, and if you want to get into like demonology, like, you know, when people say they hear knocks in the walls when their house is haunted, if you're hearing 3 knocks on your wall, that's supposed to be a sign of a demonic spirit. And also 3 a.m. is the witching hour, you know.
Exactly.
Probably go on forever with this. I'm sorry.
in paganism and Wicca, if you cast a spell, what you do to others will come back to you 3 times.
Right. If you haven't seen The Craft, go check it out. They talk about that in there.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the logo for Vodafone.
No.
All right, I'm going to try another screen share thing because it's eerily similar to the Klan's logo. Vodafone, here's the Klan. Got 6, 6,
Oh, yeah.
6. And that's the Klan's logo. For those that are YouTube watchers, you know, there it is. There's some evidence for you.
Yeah, it kind of looks like an upside down quotation mark in the middle of the cross, and then Vodafone is the same.
Yep. Found that interesting. Another coincidence, the first Apple computer went on sale for $666.66.
That's not a coincidence.
No.
That's not. So like the guys over at Last Podcast on the Left sold, you could buy the copy of their live show for $6.66, and that was not a coincidence because they end every show with Hail Satan. So that's not a coincidence, and neither was Apple selling theirs for. And so that's another thing too. Let's just look at Apple Computer real quick. Their logo is, everybody knows their logo. It's an apple with a bite taken out of it, and it used to be a rainbow thing. Well, Steve Jobs is a huge fan of the Beatles, and he named his company after the record company that produced the Beatle albums, Apple Records. So they were allowed to keep the logo, use the name, as long as they stayed out of music. But what happened what happened years later? They created iTunes, the iPod, and then Apple Music. So I don't know what I know there was a lawsuit that was going on about them switching into music, but I'm pretty sure they probably settled, and Apple Records made a lot of money off of that.
Oh, I'm sure they did. This is a neat one. The Pentagon is a satanic symbol of infinity. I got to move my page over a little bit. The Pentagon takes its name from its unique shape, a 5-sided pentagon or pentagram. However, some people believe its infinite design, as it is a pentagram surrounded by other slightly large concentric pentagrams, is a sign of the occult. And it was built in the 1940s under Roosevelt, Franklin, FDR, and its unique, according to this, its unique shape was chosen in order to maximize space.
No, that's not what it was.
And this is where the ISIS thing came from. The goddess Isis sits above the Capitol building. That statue that's above the Capitol building is Isis.
See, exactly. There's so much non-Christian symbology in our government that it's hard for anybody to say we were based on Christian values. No, we weren't.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean,
look at any of the symbology.
Well, right near the White House is a Masonic temple.
Yes.
It's called the House of the Temple. It's the home of Scottish Rite of Freemasonry.
Yeah. It's also what was I going to say? There's a quinky-dink that happens with where the symbol is. It's like 33 blocks from the White House is the Masonic temple, which is the highest order of
masonry you can get to. Yeah, there's coincidences, and then there's just this is no fucking coincidence.
Yeah. So going back to the pentagram, there's a lot of corporations that incorporate the star or some version of a pentagram within their logo. I mean,
Right.
here's one right here, rock star.
Right.
And now you're saying that's just a star. Well, where do you think the star gets its shape from? The 5 points. Now the 5 points are air, earth, land, fire. I said land and earth, didn't I? The four
Yep.
elements plus spirit, which is the fifth one, which
Right.
are all tenets of masonry. Each of the points. Those are you have the four elements. Then you have for spirit, which are the tenets of masonry, and you have companies like Sirius Radio, Dallas Cowboys, Heineken, Converse, Lockheed Martin, Walmart. We already mentioned Texaco. Chrysler used to have the pentagram as their symbols. Macy's. These are all companies that have a version of the pentagram within their symbol.
Right.
Within their logo.
Well, and the thing is too, back when a lot of these companies were made, people didn't have the internet. It wasn't as easy to research things.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot easier to hide things in plain sight. It's not so easy to hide things in plain sight anymore because we have the internet. We can research everything.
Exactly. We have a phone in our pocket that can get us any answer we want.
Right.
Instantly.
So, I mean, but I mean, saying that, they still, like on, SpongeBob, when we had the internet, still had the all-seeing eye and all that shit in it too.
Exactly. So now it's just that you don't care.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're used to it because you've been inundated by it for your whole entire life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every time you pay for something, you see it. Every time you turn on CBS and see their logo, you see it. It's everywhere. So you're constantly bombarded by it, so you're numb to it.
And
it's like the saying is, if you tell a lie and repeat it enough times, people will start to believe it.
Exactly. It becomes true.
Yeah. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No. I forgot what I was going to say, but there's a lot of cool stuff that still happen accidentally.
Right.
So there's some, like I was talking about before with the record stuff, the hidden messages.
Yeah.
Most of that stuff is just accidentally. So
yeah.
What I'm going to share my screen here real quick. As soon as I find that, okay. All right. Share. So the Chicago Bulls.
Nothing sharing, Jason.
I know. It was hidden. Can you see me now?
Yep, I can see it now.
Here's the Chicago Bulls logo. Okay, it's the typical bull, but if you flip it upside down, it is a robot reading a book.
Okay, I see it now. It took me a minute, but yeah, I can see it.
If you look at this, the one over here with that's got the sun.
Yep.
You can kind of see the robot part a little bit more. So there's some that are fun like that are just completely accidental.
Right.
And I really enjoy those ones.
Yeah, those are cool. I don't think I'll ever unsee that now.
You can't. That's one you'll never understand. I used to random kids that are near me in the store. So, hey, let me see your hat for a second. Well, I'm gonna just do my hat. I ain't gonna ruin it. Hats are expensive. I'm not gonna ruin it. I'm just gonna show you something you'll never unsee. What's that? And I show them. Say it's a robot reading a book. Huh? Glad you like to read too. What?
Yeah, my wife said, "Yay for the Bulls promoting reading."
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so much to it, and I mean, we barely touched. I would dare say we only touched maybe like 3% of it.
And just like we always say on this show, we're here as a catalyst to get you to start looking at this stuff yourself, because you don't have the attention span. I don't have the attention span. Our listeners, you guys, you don't have the attention span to sit here and listen to us do a 7, 8, 9 part series on hidden symbolism and everything.
Right. But we may do a 7-8 part on all the other stuff that we talked about.
Exactly. This is kind of the jumping off point for us to start talking about the Bilderberg group, the Rothschilds, the Bohemian Groves, the Trilateral Commission. There's so much out there that we haven't even we're going to talk about, and I can't wait. It's gonna be fun.
Right.
But the other part about the logo thing too, I do think that we need to touch is, we mentioned at the very beginning with the McDonald's logo being psychologically looks like a pair of nurturing breasts.
Right.
A lot of this is, it may have roots in paganism, in occult, but most of it is all psychology.
Yeah.
And that is what sales is anymore. It is psychology. And if you don't believe me, pretty much every grocery store that you go into, the second you go in, they force you to go right. Why? Because that's what by nature we're comfortable with doing. If you're going left, it means you actually have a point to go that way. You have a reason, like the bathroom is over there. But when you go into a department store, grocery store, chances are 9 times out of 10, when you first walk in, they funnel you to the right. Why? Because it makes you comfortable. When you're comfortable, you start buying more.
Right.
And then you go into the whole thing about, children's cereals are at children's eyes, healthy cereals are up top, generic stuff's down low.
Right. Well, and I mean, along those routes, if you go into a casino, you'll never see a clock.
That too.
Because they don't want you to know what time it is. They don't want you to keep track of the time, because then you might leave because you have something else to do.
You don't see windows, and generally the first set of doors are tinted.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, there's just certain things that you learn as you go, and there's all this symbology. I mean, a symbol means we talked about the peace symbol, or let's talk about the swastika.
Mm-hmm.
It means something different to us than it did to, who was it that originally made it?
It was the Buddhist.
The Buddhist.
It was a Buddhist symbol.
It was a Buddhist symbol for peace.
Yeah.
And then it got shanghaied by the Nazis, it got warped, and now it's still used the same way. But, us, like if I gave Jason the middle finger, us in America, we are like, oh, that's me telling him to fuck off. Yeah. But in a different country, it could mean something completely different.
Yeah. No,
and that's the same with all the symbols. They mean something different to each person that looks at them.
Like the OK sign. Everybody knows the OK sign. It's, if you do 2 of them, it's 6. And you get 3 of those, it's 666. So you get 3 6s. So it's the 666 fingers.
Yeah.
But I just say it's okay.
Right. But
you put that out there.
It's always going to mean something different to somebody else. And that's, I think, one of the biggest messages we really need to get across in this is, just because something means something to you doesn't mean it means the same thing to somebody else. They may have a different understanding of it. And if they do, instead of condemning them for it, try to understand why they understand it that way.
Yeah. So
you could open your eyes to something completely incredible.
MGM Resorts learned that valuable lesson when they first built the MGM Grand. Now, MGM Grand is a huge emerald green structure that's in Las Vegas. At one time, it was the largest hotel casino in the world. But when they first built it on the corner of Tropicana and the Strip there, the entrance was down on the street, on the sidewalk level. And you walk through this huge lion's head to walk through there. Well, there's a big problem with that they didn't know, that 1/5 of the planet thinks that's a symbol of bad luck.
Oh, yeah.
So the Chinese believe that walking through a lion's head is a symbol of bad luck, so they wouldn't go to their casino at all. So within a year, they were spending millions of dollars to renovate, to completely change where the entrance was and how you entered it. Because something simple as that was costing them millions of dollars.
Yeah, and That's just it. Before you make something like that, you really need to do your research.
Exactly.
I realize, tensions with the whole immigration thing and foreign visitors are real high right now in our country. But we still need to be open and aware to people of different cultures.
Exactly. You have to be open to everything as an American because we're a melting pot.
Right.
You can't just say, you know what, everybody's got to be cornbread, they got to be Catholic, or they got to be Christian. You have to live your life how you want to live it, and you have to let others live their life how they want to live it.
Right.
That's really what it boils to me. That's what it boils down to.
Right. And somebody else's life and their lifestyle and their life choices 90% of the time aren't going to affect you at all.
I would say 99% of the time.
Yeah.
99%.
So why is there sexuality any of your business? Why is what bathroom they're using any of your business? Any of this shit.
Yeah.
That you guys want to get caught up on and get pissed off about. It's just, instead of being mad at somebody because of what bathroom they want to use, why not try to understand it?
Or just, do what you're really good at. Like what you do with your kids, ignore them.
Right. And then blame their teachers.
Right. Exactly. So I don't really want to sum this whole thing up yet because I think we got a little bit to go. But really, it's cool because you can pretty much look at anything and you can see symbology in it.
Yeah.
If chances are, if you see a logo, I'm not talking about the mom and pop plumbing shop that just used a standard clip art thing as their logo, and I'm not talking about, I'm talking about corporations that have researched and spent time, money, and whole departments coming up with a logo. There's a reason that their logo is the way it is.
Right. And not just shape, but the color as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like the color red and yellow are associated with food, hunger. Yep. And that's why you'll see just about every single fast food place has some sort of red or yellow or both within their logo.
Right. Just a second. I'm going to tag the peanut gallery in for a minute.
It's been a while since the peanut gallery was here.
She's going to tag me out for a second because my bladder is going to explode. Good visual for you guys.
So there's some symbology there that I don't really want to dwell on. The yellow pea stream.
Yeah, no, we don't want to think about that.
No, I'm not hungry anymore. So you're in education and you see lots of, textbooks and the things that come in. Now, have you ever noticed that you may gravitate towards, or your students gravitate towards something over something else because of it's shiny? Or
in a way, I know when I put new books out,
yeah,
those are the first, they're like, oh, new books. So yeah, the shiny, and I think it's interesting because at my grade level, I have kids that are reading at a level where their favorite books are the Goosebumps and the Michigan Chillers and the
R.L. Stein stuff.
Yeah, all the R.L. Stein stuff.
Okay. So, which in itself, the Goosebumps logo is pretty,
right?
It's kind of intense, but not too spooky.
No, but yeah.
Which is another well thought out, books. Yeah. Publishers are really good at marketing, and they understand, things that's going to draw a child's attention. And my sister was a huge fan of R.L. Stein when she was younger. She won a reading competition because she read 18 of his books in a month.
Oh, cool.
But I guess, do you see kids gravitate more towards like logos that they wear in their clothing?
You know, it's interesting that you say that, because one of the things, one of the words that became very popular at the end of the school year was Gucci.
Mm.
Is that Gucci? And the group of boys that were using it, it wasn't a question that I really wanted to discuss with them as to what the meaning of that word was. I'm assuming it meant, is that really good? Or is that the thing? But yeah, I'm like,
Could it be a reference to the Gucci
I'm sure it was a reference to the Gucci brand. But it's like, do you guys even know what that is? We live in the middle of the woods.
Right. Have you ever seen?
Heard of Gucci? But I'm sure they got it from some YouTube channel.
So I'm looking it up on urbandictionary.com.
Oh, great.
It's a versatile slang term based on the luxury fashion brand, meaning okay, good, great, awesome, fresh, etc. Originally used in the streets to show how popularized by the masses, something abbreviated as Gooch, if you're the expert in its use. Now, to be all Gucci is a wonderful thing indeed.
Well, at least it was a good thing.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, it could have, trust me.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
and I mean, but it's for kids. It's always popular to take something from pop culture and turn it into slang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's kind of the same way with symbols, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can be tied together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
well, I mean, is it Gucci that is the brown bag with the letters all over it?
yes.
Yeah. See, I'm not very Gucci. But I'd be curious to know what those symbols were supposed to, I mean, other than the interlocking, but is there a deeper symbol beneath it?
Oh, I'm sure there is. I mean,
I'm sure there
people
is.
like that don't get that far
No.
along.
Probably a sigil.
Probably.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, I'm trading out.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That, ladies and gentlemen, was my wife.
But where we're going with that is, I was asking her about the youth today gravitating towards symbols, like within the books that they would pick up first when she put out new books, or clothing brands and symbols on the clothing. That's where she brought the Gucci thing.
Well, you know what's interesting about that? Because I mean, we talked about the pentagram, and you know, you held up the rock star, and it was just a star.
Mm-hmm.
But when we put a circle around something, it adds so much more power to it.
Right.
You know, when something's in the middle, or especially like if you have a circle and something's breaking through the circle.
Yeah.
It makes it look even more powerful. So, you know,
like an arrow shooting out of a circle.
Right. Like I did a piece of artwork for my daughter, which was a unicorn that was in a circle, but the circle was broken behind the unicorn, you know. So it was kind of coming out of the circle. But I mean, it makes it look more dynamic and not just static.
Very
It
true.
shows movement.
Very true. And that's also mentioned. We mentioned sigils multiple times. One of the things you do is after you create your symbol out of the phrase, you know, the condensed phrase that you have, is before, when you're charging it, one of the things you do, the first thing you do is you circle it.
Right.
Is you put it in a ring, and then you can charge it from there, and that's where it starts to gain power.
Right.
So
right.
It's kind of cool that you brought up the whole circle thing around the star and how it could bring up more power. That's it. I liked how you brought that up.
Oh,
That's where
okay.
I'm going with that.
Well, I mean, the Masons also had a lot of things to do with the square. And if you look at like Nintendo GameCube, their logo is a square within a square with the negative space shape and a G.
Right.
You know?
Which the G is also another symbolic phrase within the Masons, that it's goals, grandpas, or gushers, or even gushers are some of the words that they're using. That's what the G means. But what a lot of them really think it means is gnosis, which is a tranquil state that you get into where you're at peace and harmony with yourself.
Right. We talked about that in our chaos magic episode. Did we ever release that one?
Not yet.
We probably should.
Yeah, it's coming soon.
We talked about a lot.
True. It'll come out before this one will.
Right. But I mean, you look at religions and you look at the occult, and they put so much power in symbols, but yet religions say don't worship false idols, but yet they're just creating more and more idols all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and that's basically what a symbol is. It's an idol.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and whether it be the cross is an idol. It's a symbol. It's an idol. You know, the Jehovah's Witnesses don't worship the cross because of the fact that it's an idol.
Mm.
You know,
graven image.
Yep. So I mean, it's interesting because all of these religions have all the symbology in them. You know, I don't think Jehovah's Witnesses really do. I mean, to them, they don't believe in. They think only like 200,000 people go to heaven, and hell is just a burial ground on earth.
Yeah, it's 144,000 because that number is written in the Bible, which I think you probably have more than that in your church right now, because I think every one of them has knocked on my door.
Right.
At some point in time. So you're not all going.
Right.
At some point in time, you got to say, well, fuck it. What are my chances? I've only been here for 2 months.
Right.
I'm still walking around giving out a pamphlet. It's got pictures of kids playing with koalas and tigers.
Right. But I mean, but they don't believe in the whole fire and brimstone version of hell. To them, hell is where we are now.
Yeah. And to me, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because if you're not going to enjoy the time that you have here, then what's the purpose of being here?
Well, 90% of religions tell you not to enjoy the time you have here. Prepare to die.
Exactly. Prepare for some eventuality that may happen, may not.
Right.
It's yeah. If you're not laughing, then you're not living.
Right.
You can't love without either of the other two. So.
Right. Well, and you know, just like we talk about symbols, writings are have a lot in it too. I mean, like for example, I told you I had to read the story of the flood from Gilgamesh and the story from Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
Now, even though Gilgamesh was written some 2,000 years before the Bible, the styles were very similar because in Gilgamesh there was I can't remember the other guy's name, but it was Gilgamesh was the most powerful, strongest person on the face of the world.
Okay.
And this is back in ancient Sumeria, Mesopotamia area. And so he was the ruler. So the gods created somebody that was just as strong as him named Enkidu. And he was basically raised by animals and, you know, stood at the watering hole. But like him and Gilgamesh fought, then became friends, and they went traveling, and every night Gilgamesh would fall asleep, and when he'd wake up, he had a dream, and he was telling Enkidu, you know, did you wake me? Because I felt this. Did somebody say my name? Because I did this. Every day he said the same phrase and said, I had, you know, a horrible dream, and this is what the dream was. And then the only thing that changes in the entire phrasing is what the dream was.
Mm.
And then when Enkidu replies to him, he says the same thing every day except for the final part of it.
Oh, okay.
But then it got me thinking about, okay, well, you got that. So that's the writing style from that time period.
Okay.
So now you write the Bible, and it's a lot of that same redundant, repetitive stuff. You know, he let out the raven to look for land. The raven was out and came back and landed on him. So he's let out the dove, you know, in the flood story.
Oh,
Noah.
okay.
But, you know, they do a lot of repeating stuff in there.
Mm.
Not
Like-
as much as Gilgamesh, but yeah.
Like repeating like 3 times?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I told my wife, you know what? I could probably condense the Bible to about 100 pages.
Cliff's notes.
Well, I would just go, instead of so-and-so beget so-and-so beget so-and-so, I'd be like, this guy had a shitload of fucking kids and you're one of his descendants. There you go. I just summed up 6 chapters of the Bible in 1 sentence.
Yeah. One day, God sat around. Okay. So he's sitting around in the dark?
Yeah.
For how long? And then finally he gets the bright idea. Bright. Let's turn a light on.
Right. Well,
Let's invent TV or something.
and then we go into the other aspect of the contradiction where everybody says God created the world in 7 days. No, God created the world in 6 days.
Yeah, he rested on the last day.
Right.
Because on the 6th day, he created football.
Right. But then, after the 7th day, after he rested, he went on and created a bunch more animals and stuff so people had something to eat.
Yeah.
So, was he actually done in 6 days, or did it take longer?
I think it's an ongoing process.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think if there's God, he's not done yet.
So going back to the G thing, ain't nothing but a G thing. So it's a symbol of gnosis, but I just reading through my notes here. Also, there's the number 7 is also huge in Masonry. 7
Right.
also means completion. The G is the 7th letter of the alphabet. So just like white supremacists use 88 all the time because it's the H, or they use 88 because H is the 8th letter, and if you get 88, that's 2 H's, and 2 H's is Heil Hitler.
Right.
And that's way too much thinking for those fucks.
Yeah, and just pretty much sounds like hate.
Yes. That too.
But 7 also another prime number.
Also another prime number, yes. There's a lot of other symbology with the number 3. We were talking about the number 3, where you look at different. Was that one? That was 2. There's 3 arches in a lot of architecture that the Masons had done.
Okay.
Look at a lot of the old cathedrals. In the front side of the cathedral, there are 3 arched windows in the front of them, or there are 3 arched walkways that walk into the front of the building. In most Masonic temples, that they're built this way with either 3 windows, 3 doors, 3 entrances, or 3 major. And there's a lot of different places around the world. And you look like you're laughing.
Yeah, I found something. Go ahead, keep going.
Oh, I just wanted to bring up that a lot of the architecture that if you're an architectural student, art history student, you've probably noticed this stylized version of repetitives of 3 being within most of the buildings that they've created back in the day.
Right. The reason why prime numbers are so important in the occult and with the Masons and Illuminati is because since they have no divisors, they are seen to have special powers. And each one would have a different special power. I mean, we've already talked about 3, and is a different one, So, I mean, that's like, here's an example. Okay, so when what's her name, Taylor Swift goes up and dipshit interrupts her, the date that was held on was September 13th.
Oh, nice.
Prime number. And when she was supposedly initiated,
Oh.
So, I mean, there's a lot to do with numbers and symbols when it comes to all of this stuff. I mean, we were going to do one on numerology, but it was such a broad area, we didn't really know where to start. So if you guys have an idea and you want us to do numerology, tell us where to start and we'll do it.
Yeah. Another one that I find is very interesting is on the dollar bill, there is a Roman numeral date on the back of it. It is actually May 1st, 1776 is the date that is on there. Not July 4th, May 1st, 1776.
Huh.
Why is it May 1st? Because that is the day the Illuminati was created.
Oh, that makes sense. And, you know, there's another sacred occult number, that's the number 11. And nine's mixed in there too. And that's why you have the whole 9/11 thing.
Right.
It's the significance of the numbers. I don't know all the information on that. I just know, like 77 crash into the pentagram, 11 times 7 is 77. Some of the stuff is a bit of a stretch because, like, one of the things said that, okay, on September 11th, 1990, George W. Bush gave a congressional speech about moving towards a new world order. When President Bush visits New York after the attacks, he was pictured with a fireman with a helmet number 164. 1 plus 6 plus 4 equals 11. Now, my wife's like, well, it also equals 2. But 11, 22, 33, and 44 have power in these areas. So those are the numbers they do not reduce. Like if it was 12, it would be 3.
Right.
So there's a little bit of numerology for you.
And kind of going off of that, something else that they knew back in the day is something referred to as the divine ratio, the golden ratio. And what it is it's a ratio of 1.618 to 1, which is it's divine proportion. But this is something in the Renaissance that they actually learned, and it's a lot of it deals with like fractal geometry and how things look in proportion to, instead of like 2 to 1, it's 1.618 to 1.
Right.
The Greeks figured this out, and it looks like you're about to say something. Yeah,
if you actually were to graph it out and map it out, it would be a vertigo. That is the divine ratio. That is to artists what pi is to mathematicians.
Yeah. And one of the best things, if you look at the cross-reference of a seashell, and that's the perfect representation of it in nature.
Yep. And you'll see it in a lot of things in nature too. I mean, you want not just seashells, but there's fossils will have it. All the fossils and a bunch of other stuff too. It's really cool.
So they all these people have taken all this knowledge that we've been talking about for the last hour and a half, and put it together in a way that works for them. They use the psychology, they use the occult symbolism, they use magic, they put all this human behavior, they put all this shit together to figure out something that ultimately results in them getting the return on their investment. Right.
So with the swastika, what do you know? You said it was the Hindus?
Yeah, Hindu or Buddhism.
Do you know what color they originally made it in?
The first thing that comes to my mind was there was a golden statue of Buddha with the swastika on it. So gold.
Gold. Yeah, because it would make sense that the Nazis turned it red and black.
Yeah.
Because those
kind of flipped it too.
Yeah, and because those are the colors of power, basically.
Yes.
And I said the thing earlier. Here's a direct quote from Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propaganda minister. If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people eventually come to believe it. That the lie can be maintained only for such time as a state can shield the people from the political, economic, and/or military consequences of the lie. It thus becomes vitally important for the state to use all of its powers to repress dissent, for the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie. And thus, by extension, the truth is the greatest enemy of the state.
Facts don't matter.
Right. Alternative facts.
Yeah. Real facts is fake news, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Only stuff that they make up is true. So yeah, so I mean, no, the people who, I mean, we talked about religions, we talked about the occult and all this other stuff, and we talked about the Masons and the Illuminati, but the people that use symbology and numerology and all that stuff, probably the most would have been the Nazis.
Yeah, and we've done a propaganda episode where we go into a lot of what the Nazis used as we went into how they used the occult, they used symbology, they used psychology, and then they used just straight up fucking mind control.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, take it how you want. Basic is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. So really what all this is kind of is just trying to get people to be aware.
Right.
Everything has a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a reason those arches are gold.
Right.
There's a reason that McDonald's didn't want McDowell's to have the golden arcs.
Right. There's a reason why hospitals and institutions are all white. You know, it's the color of sterilization. It makes people feel clean and sterile.
And to quote Brad Pitt from Ocean's 11, they say taupe's very soothing.
Right. You know, in blue is a soothing color as well. You'll see that in places. That's why you put it in nurseries and stuff like that.
Yes. There's a lot of really good stuff out there about color psychology and how it pertains to the places that you eat, the places that you shop, the websites that you go to. There's psychology in all of that. There's nothing random. Like when a company puts out, especially I'm not talking about mom and pop shops. I'm talking about corporations that have money. They never make a change to their website without researching how it affects your brain when you go there. Right.
And I mean, it's the same reason why cars are all in basic colors.
Yeah.
You don't get, I mean, there's exceptions to the rule. There are some outlandish colors out there, but you don't see them every day.
For every burnt sienna car, there's 3,000 gray ones.
Right. Or black.
Or white or silver.
Right. You know,
and red, and it's proven that red cars get pulled over more than any other color.
Right. So I mean, and it's like
your insurance will actually be more if you buy a red car. That's why they ask you the color of your car.
Yeah. Well, in like Google's, let's take Google for instance. Their logo, you know, it's primary colors except for the L is green.
Yeah.
The L is a secondary color. And I said Google, and my phone's starting to search everything.
Nice.
But you know, reasoning for that is if they hadn't broke it up, it would have just kept repeating itself, and it would actually start to make you dizzy. If you look at it long enough like that. So you make that L green, all of a sudden it breaks it up, and you can look at it and not go kind of wonkers.
And yeah, green it's actually technically it's a primary color too, but in television.
Right.
Red, green, and blue are the primary television colors, where yellow is the primary color. Blue and green, or blue and yellow make green. So
right, yeah. In artist speak, the primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. Then your secondary colors are orange, purple, and green. And then you have your tertiary colors, which is like blue, yellow, green, yellow, blue, green. Sorry.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, there's a lot to this stuff, and I would love to hear from our audience what they think about a lot of this stuff. I know we missed a ton of shit, so tell us what we missed.
Yeah. Tell us what we missed, and tell us your favorite logo.
Yeah. And why do you like it?
Yeah.
So I don't even think we need to do a summary. I think we can just do that.
Right out. So with that, I'm going to say insert tagline here.
Peace out. Love you fuckers.
That's called a callback.
Right.